Hey folks, about a month ago I decided to make a Human Foosball game for an event we were having at our church. Looked all over the internet, all over YouTube, and came up with this solution. I'm going to be walking through some of the steps that I use to come up with this. Hopefully this helps anyone that's deciding to make one of these on their own. Enjoy.
Here's a diagram of the game. You'll see where it's 40 feet long, 20 feet wide, with 2 openings at each end for a goal. I'll provide a more detailed explanation of this diagram later in the video. Here's a list of materials that I use to make the game. 14 4x8 sheets of 1/2 inch thick OSB, 26 2x4x8 studs. What was available to me was the 2-inch diameter metal pipes. You could replace these with something that you have readily available. They do not have to be 2 inches. 6 3-inch diameter PVC pipes. And again, if you have a different size metal pipe available, you can find a suitable replacement size PVC, just as long as it's roughly an inch larger than what you use for the metal pipes, so that the PVC pipes slide easily over the metal pipes. 16 4-inch long bolts, these are for joining the panels to each other. 16 5-inch long bolts, these are for attaching the pipes to the 2x4s or whatever size bolt that you would need, given whatever size metal pipes you use. 12 6-inch long bolts for the corners. For each of these, I put 2 washers as well as a nut on each bolt. As needed, you would need a box or 2 of 1 1/4 inch long exterior screws, or whatever you have available that would join the 2x4s to the OSB panels. Optional items are duct tape and nylon straps. I went with this U-line vinyl tape and also these nylon straps. And I'll put links to all of these in the description below. Here's a list of tools that I used. I used a miter saw to cut the 2x4s to length. A circular saw could also be used to cut the 2x4s. I also used the circular saw to cut 6 inches off the 4x8 panels to make the entire game 3.5 feet tall. If you do buy your OSB from a big box store, had I known I was gonna cut off 6 inches, I would have had them cut the 6 inches off at the store. A drill or screwdriver for screwing the OSB and the 2x4s together, as well as drilling the holes in the 2x4s and the corner pieces. Various wrenches to install the bolts, using whatever type wrenches or tools you have available, depending on what kind of bolt you use. Rubber mallets helpful for lining up the 2x4s on the OSB sheet, and also clamps or extra hands for drilling the holes when 2 panels are joined the first time, or the corner pieces so they line up later for assembly. I just use these Bessie clamps that are available at big box stores. If I had some extra hands available, I use those as well.
The overall size of the game is about 40 feet by 20 feet. The length is made up of 5 8-foot long OSB panels, and the width is made up of 2 OSB panels with a space for a goal. Each of the panels themselves is made up of a piece of OSB, 1/2 inch thick, and 2x4s. This is not weather treated. The first week we used this, it was sitting out in the rain almost every day. Showers were brief but heavy. It's been about a month since that happened, and it seems to have not affected it at all. At the very bottom there may have been a little bit of swelling, but I really can't tell. Each of the panels is joined to each other by bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom. At each of the corners there's a 4x4 post, and those are also joined to each of the panels with bolts. So it's important to note up as it's going to be installed so you can match drill all of these bolt holes. And then once you do that, they'll go in every time into the same holes, and also you can label each panel. I'll show you a map of my layout.
Each panel is labeled S1 through S10, and there are 4 end pieces of the same size labeled E1 through E4. Also, you'll see 4 corner pieces made of the 4x4 posts labeled C1 through C4. Keep this map handy as you drill all your holes and assemble it the first time. It will make putting it together much more easier if all the holes already line up.
The height of the court is 3.5 feet high. I figured this height really works well for first, second, third graders, younger kids, as well as adults. I found if it was 4 feet high, that was a little too high, so I cut it down. Using the off-cut pieces, I made these corner braces on each panel, which gives a little more stability. It also helps with carrying the panels to where they're stored and helps with setup and things like that. Each corner section is made up of a piece of 4x4 treated wood. I bought 2 pieces, cut each one of them down to about 3.5 feet. The poles are a little over 20 feet long. The poles themselves are made of 2-inch handrail pipe. I've seen different types of material used for the poles. Fence post type material, plumbing pipes, things like that. It really depends on whatever's available to you and works for whatever you're doing. Locations on the frame with these were bolted were really just guessed at. The pipes that slide over the poles are 3-inch PVC pipe, and you can see they slide very freely. I did attach some straps to these pipes for the really small kids, like first and second graders, that have a hard time getting their hands around the 3-inch pipes. For the older kids, I asked them to have their hands around the pipe so they don't pull on the strap. The way that I attached the straps to the pipe was using Gorilla tape, T-Rex tape, some of the really strong duct tape available, and then overwrapping that with colored vinyl tape, red or blue. At each end for the goals, a small soccer goal is used. The gap in between each of these panels is about 4 feet. It also gives a space for kids to get in and out of because the goal can just be moved out of the way. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Any suggestion, also leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to hear them. Enjoy.